Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going deep with Shoe Dog.
Phil Knight's memoir, The Story Behind Nike.
Yeah, the swoosh, the shoes. We're going to uncover some pretty wild stuff, folks. Get ready for some serious insights into his journey.
It's way more than just shoes, though.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Hit me with it. What's the big takeaway here?
This deep dive, it's about taking leaps, believing in yourself, seeing how far you can actually go, like really go.
I'm hooked already. So where does this all start? Give me the origin story.
Okay, so picture this. Knight, 24 years old, runner, fresh out of business school. You know that feeling, right? Doubt mixed with ambition.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
So he's got this wild idea. He wants to build a life around running, that feeling you get, pure joy, competition, pushing limits.
I can relate to that feeling, wanting to chase a dream, but turning it into a business. I think most of us would hesitate.
Exactly. Most people would. That's what's so fascinating about Knight. He went for it, trusted his gut, embraced the unconventional, bet on himself.
Okay, hold on. We're talking Nike here, this global brand. Did he have some super detailed business plan from the start?
Not exactly. More like a $50 loan from his dad, a suitcase full of Tiger shoe samples, and a whole lot of hustle.
Wait, Tiger shoes, isn't that like a competitor?
Yeah, now it is. But back then, Tiger was a Japanese brand. Knight discovered it on his travels after college. He was backpacking the world, soaking it all in. Ended up in Japan just after World War II.
Wow, talk about timing.
Right. He saw Tokyo, the devastation, a whole nation rebuilding. Somehow ends up in a meeting with the executives of Onitsuka. They make Tiger shoes.
This meeting, I gotta hear more. What was it like, a young American walking into a Japanese business setting back then?
Complete culture clash. Everyone in the accounting department, they stood up and bowed in unison when he entered the room.
Oh, wow. I bet he wasn't prepared for that.
Not at all. Knight was, I think, totally thrown off.
I wonder what they thought of him. This American guy shows up talking shoes.
Well, Knight, he had this way about him. He convinced them that the U.S. would be a $1 billion market for running shoes.
Seriously?
And get this, he basically pulled that number out of thin air.
Wow. That's bold, but hey, it worked.
It did. Knight scored a deal, distribute Tiger shoes in the U.S. He sends a telegram to his dad, borrows $50 for samples, heads home, ready to launch this business.
From backpacking to a shoe deal? What a souvenir. I guess business school wasn't a total waste after all.
Not at all. That business background, plus Knight's instincts, his risk-taking, perfect recipe for his entrepreneurial journey.
But he didn't do it alone, right? There was something about his track coach being involved.
Oh, absolutely. This is where Bill Bowerman comes in, legendary track coach, University of Oregon. Bowerman was obsessed with improving athletic performance through shoes.
Okay, go on.
He'd sneak into his athletes' lockers, modify their shoes, always tinkering, experimenting.
No way he stole shoes.
He did. Sounds crazy, right? But it shows his dedication to innovation. You see, Bowerman believed even the smallest details could make a huge difference for athletes.
Okay, so Knight, he's got the business smarts. Bowerman, the design genius. Both driven by running. Powerful combination.
The perfect partnership, really. They complemented each other's strengths, pushed each other to think bigger, bolder.
Okay, I can already tell this is just the beginning. What happened next? Did they just take off running from there?
Well, not quite. Lots of hurdles, actually. Financial struggles, demanding bankers, manufacturing delays. You name it, they faced it.
Huh, that's interesting. Nike's known for its smooth, stylish image today. You wouldn't think.
It wasn't easy. Knight, though, he was so resilient, this unwavering belief in his vision. He'd do whatever it took to overcome those obstacles. Not always glamorous, but he found creative solutions, never gave up.
So they were selling Tiger shoes. Was that the start of Nike?
Not quite yet. But things were about to get way more interesting. That deal with Onitsuka, remember, the makers of Tiger shoes. Well, let's just say that partnership, it wasn't built to last.
Ooh, sounds like things are about to get juicy. Before we move on to part 2, anything else from these early days that really stands out to you?
You know, what really fascinates me is how Knight always chose the less traveled path. Think about it. He could have played it safe, gotten a regular job after business school.
Right, the safe route.
But He chose to travel the world, meet Japanese executives, build this business around shoes, embraced uncertainty, took risks. Ultimately, that's what led him to create something truly groundbreaking.
All right, listeners, we're going to pause here, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll dig into the breakdown of that partnership, the birth of Nike, and the story behind that iconic swoosh.
Welcome back, deep divers. Last time, we left Phil Knight, and there was this growing tension with Onitsuka, the makers of Tiger shoes.
Right. He was selling their shoes in the U.S., but it sounded like things were getting kind of messy. What happened?
So Knight, he was putting his all into building the Tiger brand in America, right? But he kept running into these delivery delays, inconsistent manufacturing, disagreements about distribution rights.
Oh, I bet that was frustrating for him and his team.
It was. They were working so hard. But it felt like, Onitsuka wasn't fully committed to the U.S. market.
That's tough. Did he try to, work things out with them?
He did. But it became clear they had different visions. Knight wanted more control, more independence, freedom to build a brand that reflected his own values and ideas.
So what did he do? Just walk away from this successful partnership?
That's exactly what he did. Huge risk, right. But Knight realized he couldn't keep building someone else's dream. He needed to create something of his own, and that's when the idea for Nike was born.
Whoa, major turning point. But before we get to Nike, let's rewind. We left Knight back in the U.S. working out of his parents' basement. How did he even get Blue Ribbon Sports, off the ground?
Resourcefulness, man, pure resourcefulness. He relied on this network of family, friends, former athletes to get things going. He even brought on Jeff Johnson, a former Stanford runner, key player in those early days.
What was so special about Johnson?
Passionate, energetic, maybe even a little obsessive. Knight describes him as this constant source of ideas, energy, a true believer in the power of, athletic shoes.
I'm sensing a theme here. Knight attracts these passionate, driven people.
Oh, absolutely. And it wasn't just passion. Knight needed people who'd work hard, think outside the box, embrace his unconventional approach.
Okay, so he's got this small but dedicated team. But running a business takes money. How is he funding all of this?
That's where things got really, really challenging. Knight struggled to get traditional financing. Bankers, they saw it as too risky, too niche. They didn't get his vision.
So what did he do? Max out his credit cards, hit up his friends and family for loans?
All of the above. Knight was constantly hustling, juggling funds, stretching every dollar. He even took a second job, teaching accounting at Portland State University.
Whoa, a second job. That's dedication.
Partly to appease his father, but also to have more control over his time.
That's where he met Penny Parks, right? His wife. She played a pretty big role at Nike.
You got it. Knight met Penny in his accounting class. Sharp, meticulous student. Knight was immediately impressed. Her skills, her work ethic. He even noticed she took notes in shorthand.
Shorthand? I haven't heard that word in ages.
Right. But for Knight, it meant she was detail-oriented, efficient, willing to go the extra mile. He offered her a job, Blue Ribbon Sports. She became his first official employee.
From student to the first Nike employee, that's amazing. What did she do for the company?
Penny brought much-needed structure, financial discipline, handled bookkeeping, orders, all the nitty-gritty stuff to keep things running. Her meticulous nature, it balanced out Knight's sometimes impulsive style.
And they fell in love. What a story.
It is. Their relationship shows the sacrifices, the blurred lines between work and life that so many entrepreneurs face, It was this shared passion, building something together.
It sounds like Knight was really good at spotting talent, bringing the right people on board.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just Penny. Remember, he needed a partner, someone to share the burden of managing this growing business.
Yes. And this is where Bob Whittle comes in.
Exactly. Bob, a former classmate of Knight's from the University of Oregon. Tragically, he had been paralyzed in a car accident. But Knight, he saw beyond that, recognized Bob's brilliance, his determination, offered him a partnership.
That's incredibly inspiring. I'm starting to see why Nike became such a powerhouse, this foundation of talent, resilience, challenging the status quo.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
And with Whittle on board, things really took shape. Order, efficiency. He set up systems, streamlined things, instrumental in navigating that crazy growth.
So things are moving, the team is growing, but there's still this tension with Onitsuka. How did Knight manage all that while trying to grow his own business?
Well, he always thought ahead, explored his options, knew he couldn't rely on Onitsuka forever. So he started looking for other manufacturing partners. traveled to Taiwan. It was emerging as a major shoe producer at the time. Started forging new relationships.
Smart move. Diversify supply chain. More control, more flexibility. But that takes capital, and they were already tight on cash.
Exactly. And his bankers, they were getting nervous, didn't understand his vision, kept urging him to slow down.
Classic clash. Entrepreneurial spirit meets the traditional financial world.
You said it. It shows how important it is to find investors and partners who don't just provide capital, but who believe in your vision, understand your long-term goals.
So how did Knight find the support he needed?
A little bit of luck, to be honest. He was introduced to this Japanese trading company, Nisho Iwai. They were impressed with his company's growth, saw the potential in the U.S. market. They offered a partnership. Knight got access to their network of manufacturers and suppliers, plus the financial stability he desperately needed.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time. Sounds like this partnership gave him the leverage to finally break free from Onitsuka for good.
That's exactly what happened. With Nisho Iwai backing him, Knight was ready to take that leap of faith, launch his own brand, but there was still one major piece missing.
The Nike name and that iconic swoosh logo. Can't wait to hear how that came about.
That's a story for part 3. But I'll give you a hint. It involves a graphic design student, a very, very small budget, and a logo that Knight initially hated. Stay tuned.
All right, deep divers, welcome back. We left Phil Knight at a major crossroads. He'd broken away from Onitsuka, ready to launch his own brand.
Big moment, right? He needed a name, a logo, a way to make a splash in a market already full of, giants.
I can't imagine the pressure. This was his dream, everything on the line.
Totally. And this is where Knight's drive, his willingness to go with those unconventional ideas, it really shows. First, the name. He thought about a few options, but landed on Nike, the Greek goddess of victory.
Nike, the goddess of victory. I like it. Bold, memorable. But what about the logo? You mentioned a design student, a tiny budget.
Right. He needed a logo, something to visually represent the brand.
Right.
Reached out to a graphic design student at Portland State University, Carolyn Davidson. Told her, create something that shows motion, speed. Paid her a grand total of $35 for her work.
$35? Seriously? Today, companies spend millions on branding and logo design.
It's wild, right? But it shows Knight's, scrappy spirit. He was willing to take a chance on a young designer. And Davidson, she came up with the swoosh, one of the most iconic logos ever.
The swoosh. So simple, but so powerful. It really does capture that, movement, energy. But I heard a rumor, Knight didn't like it at first.
He didn't. He actually said, well, I don't love it, but maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Rejecting a logo that would become, synonymous with aesthetic excellence.
Wow. I wonder what would happen if he'd gone with his gut, rejected it.
It's a reminder, even the best leaders don't always see a brilliant idea right away. Sometimes you got to trust the process, be open to the unexpected.
Okay, so the name's set, logo's done. Time to introduce Nike to the world. How'd he pull that off?
He aimed for the 1972 Olympic trials, Eugene, Oregon. Chance to showcase the brand, attract athletes, make a statement. But he knew he couldn't compete with the big guys, like in terms of advertising.
So how'd he stand up? What was the strategy?
He focused on connecting with athletes, authentically. He knew they were tired of the corporate stuff. So he did something totally unexpected. Set up a waffle iron in a hotel room, offered fresh waffles to athletes who came by to check out the Nike shoes.
A waffle iron? Come on.
Seriously, it was brilliant. Created buzz, good vibes. It set Nike apart. Classic example of guerrilla marketing.
Guerrilla marketing, what's that exactly?
Unconventional tactics, reaching customers directly, being creative, resourceful, a little edgy. And in this case, it worked. Athletes loved it. The personal touch, the waffles, the shoes.
So waffles launched Nike. Who knew? But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing from there. What challenges did Knight face growing this new brand?
Oh, there were still financial hurdles. Production issues. The market was super competitive. He was pushing his team hard. Long hours, total dedication. He even called his core team the butt faces.
Butt faces. Okay, that's hilarious.
Right. But it kind of makes sense. Building a company from scratch, it's tough.
It is, but it sounds like they had fun too.
They did. Knight, he had this demanding style, but he inspired them too. With his passion, his vision, he led by example.
He wasn't just some boss barking orders. He was right there with them, facing those challenges.
Exactly. That created a strong loyalty, commitment. The butt faces, as he called them, they weren't just employees. They were a team, a family, this shared mission to create something awesome.
That's really cool. So they're pushing forward, building the brand, things are taking off. Any key moments from those early years that stand out?
Well, signing Steve Prefontaine, that was huge. Legendary runner. He had this charisma, this rebellious spirit. He embodied Nike. Sadly, he died young. Car accident. Big loss for Knight.
It reminds you that business isn't just about, like, numbers and profits. It's about people, relationships.
So true.
Yeah.
And as Nike grew, Knight faced new hurdles. The 90s, there was that scandal about sweatshop labor.
Right, I remember hearing about that.
PR nightmare. Knight had to face some hard truths about his supply chain.
Must have been a tough time for him and for Nike.
It was. But Knight, he acknowledged the mistakes, took steps to address them, came out of it with this renewed focus on transparency, ethical manufacturing, a journey of learning, self-reflection, using his influence to push for good.
That's a good lesson for any leader. You mess up, you own it, you learn, and you do better.
Exactly. In the end, Knight's story is about more than shoes. It's about believing in your vision, surrounding yourself with great people, and being resilient, overcoming those obstacles.
It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever chased a dream, tried to build something from nothing.
You got it. Shoe Dog. It's a testament to that entrepreneurial spirit, the guts to challenge the norm, the drive to leave your mark on the world.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Shoe Dog, I'm feeling inspired. Like, anything's possible if you're willing to put in the work. Never give up on those crazy ideas.
That's the perfect takeaway. Knight's journey shows us the path to success. It's rarely a straight line. There's twists, turns, unexpected bumps. But with passion, perseverance, a little luck, amazing things happen.
Well said. So to all our listeners out there, what are your crazy ideas? What dreams are you chasing? Take that leap. Embrace the unknown. See where it takes you.